today I'll be talking about the three questions that are on discussion board 5. The first question is, what should be included in the introduction and conclusion of an effective speech? I believe that what Miss Ann Ricketts stated about having 4 steps into creating a great introduction into a speech is very correct. This is because the first step that she talks about is having an interesting or eye-catching hook that grabs and holds the attention of the audience so they aren't distracted from other things besides your speech. I think good subjects to use as hooks are a story, an unknown statistic, a metaphor, or a detailed analogy. Then she goes on to state the second step, which is how to transition to the next topic, which to me is the most important step, because it's a way of having the audience be able to follow your speech effectively without becoming confused or misunderstanding the topic. Then the third step is self-introduction and a preview of what the information that is being stated to the audience. This is pretty much, having the speaker talk about themselves and how they relate to the topic that they are talking about. And then it's also to give way or a bridge into how the goals and accomplishments that they want out of this speech. Then the final and last step is how the audience benefits from the speech. So this can pretty much mean what the audience is getting from listening to the speech, whether it be critical information or a passionate story that changes people's view of the world. Furthermore, I also believe that the conclusion of a speech leaves a heavy impact on the audience, since it's the last few words that the audience will remember vividly with their minds. So this is why I believe that it is important to give a brief, simple summary of all the important parts of the speech, and try to leave an everlasting impression on the audience so that they will remember the speech later on in their lives. The next question is, what type of attention getter did you use for your informational speech? Do you believe it was effective or ineffective, and why? Personally, I believe that the attention getter that I used for my informational speech was pretty underwhelming because it was stating the history of how the term virtual reality and augmented reality came to being. Well, not came to being. How they were used back in history and then their original origin, which is why I believe that it wasn't an effective way of grabbing the attention of the audience, because not a lot of people are interested in the history of words or in history in general, because history can sometimes be very boring and unexciting. So next time I will try a different approach when it comes to stating information about augmented reality and virtual reality, mainly having stating the shocking discoveries that were made using virtual reality and augmented reality, or the amazing accomplishments that they have produced, which I believe is very exciting, more exciting than the history of where the words or terms came from. Then the final question, which is, why do you think relationships deteriorate? When is it best to completely dissolve a relationship? And then share 2 points from Devin's relationship advice that resonated with you. Please expand on your answer. I think that relationships deteriorate because of 2 reasons, being misunderstandings and miscommunications, which can go hand in hand with one another. The reason why I believe these are 2 big reasons is because they can both lead into one another, and the cause of this happening is because one person in the relationship isn't being honest about how they feel, or the other person in the relationship doesn't care about how the other person feels. Furthermore, I believe that it is best to completely dissolve a relationship if the relationship is physically, emotionally, or mentally draining a person to where they believe that they are not functioning to the best of their abilities. I also like the quote that Devin states, talking about how people should find comfort in places that they are unfamiliar with, because if they go back to the places that they are familiar with, they are staying in the same place where they are still feeling awful or depressed, because nothing has changed because they went back to the place that they are familiar with. I think this way of thinking is very productive because it gives people encouragement to explore unknown places that they are not familiar with, and gives them a chance in finding something that they may end up loving or enjoying. Another thing I took away from Devin's advice is that people should never have to question themselves when it comes to how they believe that they should be loved, or how they want to seek out love for themselves. Because I believe that everyone has a love language that they feel most connected with, and they enjoy receiving love in that way the most because that's how they perceive love. So I think that's the best way that they should not question themselves when it comes to how they believe they should be loved or how they should love others. That is all.